Happy Tuesday and welcome to our webinar. We have a fun webinar planned today, going over empowering tomorrow's ECE leaderships, featuring Tom Wood with HINGE Advisors. If you want to go ahead and put your name and just say a little hello in the chat box, we will get started. I am Jen Price. I'm the member advocate with Inspire Care 360, or one of the member advocates, and I will be your MC for today. See, we have Brenda from Chicago, Dave from Fairfax, Virginia. Wow, these go so fast. I don't know if I can keep up. I see Mary on here. Happy to see everyone. Happy to see you, Mary. Or I can't see you, but you can see me. So hello. We have on the agenda today, we're going to go over a little housekeeping, an introduction of Tom, a little discussion with Tom, and then a little bit more about Inspire Care 360. And today, just remember that you can get your CEU certificate for this webinar. So if you want to go ahead, and the link will be put in the chat, and you can go ahead and click and copy and paste that for yourselves. Reach out if you have any issues in the chat, and we can kind of help you with that. And let me introduce our host for today, which is Jessica Wright. She is our Executive Vice President of Operations, amongst other things, and just all around a great gal. You will love talking with her, and I'll let her take over.
Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure to see your face. So yes, as Jen mentioned, we have a great webinar in store for you all. We're excited to have you all attend. Wow, the chat box is going crazy. I am the Executive Vice President of Operations here at Inspire Care 360. And we do just want to go through a few housekeeping items, tell you a little bit about what we have to offer. One of our programs is our CDA certification. We have a certification and a renewal program. And this is just a great way to invest in your team's growth, empower your recruitment strategy. One of the things I want to mention is over there in the box, it says 120-hour program. Actually, it should say 121 hours. One of the things that we found that was missing in the 120 hours that's required for your CDA is a little bit of support for the portfolio that you have to do. So we actually designed a 121-hour program. The last hour of the program is actually a step-by-step to help you create and develop that portfolio. We offer a competitive price there. So check it out. Sarah's going to put the link there for more information about our CDA and our renewal program. In addition to CDA, another amazing recruiting strategy is our ECE Healthy Advantage Solutions. This is our healthcare benefits program that we offer in our membership. We have medical plans going all the way from telemedicine all the way up to elite care programs and voluntary coverage in addition to that. The employee individual premiums, those range anywhere from $11.50 per individual all the way to $90 for a family. I myself use this for myself and my two boys. I'm on our highest medical plan, no deductibles. That's one of the amazing things. And I pay under $300 to have healthcare coverage for myself and my two boys. In addition to that, we have dental and vision and a few other voluntary options. So it's a very affordable program for staff. It's affordable for owners as well. And like I said, there's 5 flexible programs there. $15 office visits, $15 specialist visits. It's just really a great affordable program. Not only is it affordable for employees and owners, but it's also easily implemented. So we actually we house the implementation. We take care of that. We have an excellent enrollment specialist that will meet with you and your employees to answer any questions. One of the things that we're huge advocates on is just making sure that you're not undercovered or overcovered. So we really take the time to sit down with your team and make sure that they fully understand what they're looking for. So for more information on this, again, Sarah will post a link in there. It does take about 6 weeks to implement this. So if you're looking for healthcare benefits for your staff, this is a great opportunity, affordable. So post if you'd like to add if you'd like additional information on that. All right, now I want to introduce our amazing speaker today, Tom Wood. I've had the opportunity to hear Tom actually speak at some conferences, as well as had the opportunity to meet with him prior to this and just have some conversations. He has over 15 years of leadership experience. He's a certified associate coach. He is a success service leader with HINGE Advisors. He sounds like Matthew McConaughey and looks just like him as well. So we're super excited to have Tom today. He's going to speak with us on emotional intelligence, among other things. So welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm honored to be here, and I have been accused of sounding like Matthew McConaughey on numerous occasions. And I tell the story that the first time I ever heard that, I went home to my wife of almost 40 years, and I told her, "You're never going to guess who they said I sound like." And she said, "Who?" And I said, "Matthew McConaughey." And then I tell people that I'm telling the story, and I'll tell you, it made her sad. And everybody's like, "I wonder why it made her sad." And then I answer the question. It made her sad because she said that's where the similarities end with the voice. But nevertheless, I'll take it, and maybe I'll give an all right before the end of this thing. So anyway, I am honored to be here. Today, we're going to talk about a leader's emotional intelligence. It's a big, fancy word. And let me start it off by asking you this question. And I do want to give you a heads up. Would love some chat feedback. We'll be specifically asking for some during this time. Would love some, and then would love any chat feedback that you have during this, any questions you have, comments you have, and Jessica is going to help me make sure we address as many of those as we can. And then at the end of this, we're going to save about 5 or 10 minutes at the end. I would love to hear if anyone has any takeaways, major takeaways for you from what you've heard that you can take and use. Because anytime I do leadership development or any speaking or whatever classes, it's really nice to have a warm fuzzy. It really is, because we all love a good warm fuzzy. But really, at the end of the day, us being better leaders is about behavior change. It's about doing things differently. It's about starting to do something, stopping something, doing more of something or less of something. So really want to lean into you on that. And at the end, would love to hear some takeaways about, hey, here's what I think I need to start doing. So we'll start today with emotional intelligence. And I want to ask you a rhetorical question first. Have you ever walked away from a social situation, a situation with other people or another person, and said to yourself, did I really just say that? Did I really just respond like that? Did I really act like that? So therein lies the definition of emotional intelligence. Okay. And I would argue that most of us know the right thing to say. We know the right way to react. The question is in that moment, do we do it? And I like to add on to emotional intelligence with this phrase: the magic is in the moment. The magic happens when we react the way we should, when we say what we should. So today we're going to define emotional intelligence, and then we're going to talk about the components of emotional intelligence, and that is the pieces of it, and that is those pieces. We have about 1 second to react typically in situations. And then we're going to talk about some things that we can do, bigger picture, some things that we can do in our lives that when we do get in those moments, we will react better. Okay? So let's define it first. I'm going to give you the big fancy dictionary definition of emotional intelligence. It is, and I'm going to read it, the ability, and here's the key, in the moment, okay, to manage your own emotions. And we're going to be talking about a lot about what's inside of us and then what comes outside of us in that moment, to manage your own emotions as well as understand the emotions of people around you. So our lens through this should be in, but our lens should also be pointing outward. It should be on a swivel, okay? In order to, so the ability in the moment to manage your own emotions as well as understand the emotions of people around you in order to use your leadership skills most appropriately. And when I say leadership skills, I'm not just talking about people that report to you at work, that are in the org chart box below you. Because we can be a leader to whoever and to wherever we are. We can serve and love people wherever we are. And that's our definition of leadership at Hinge, is serving and loving. Okay. So here's what I want to start with, and I need your help with this. Okay. And I constantly encourage people never to call people names. Okay. Don't call people names. Don't do name calling. But I would like some examples, if you don't mind, of a name, and keep it PG rated or better, but anyway, of a name that you might call someone that you really don't want to be around, or you really don't like to be around. Let's get some chat going. What's the name of Eeyore? I love that, man. Yeah. Who else?
So Tom, I have to laugh because I feel like my emotional intelligence gets the best of me in the car, like on the way to school and at the
100%.
drop-off line. And
100%. And that's a great point, Jessica. And we'll talk about that. We'll talk about things that push our buttons. Yeah, hateful, oxygen thief.
Oxygen thief, I like that one.
I love that. I love that. Well, I tell you what, I love them all. Let's go ahead and keep going. So I'm going to fill in the blank with oxygen thief. Fill in these blanks, okay? This is why this is so important. One of the many reasons this topic is so important. Nobody wants to work for an oxygen thief. I think everybody would agree with me. Nobody wants to work with an oxygen thief. And two more. Nobody wants to be around an oxygen thief. So finally, don't be an oxygen thief. How about that? So you would believe some of the great names, and these are good too. I like the Eeyore too. I like the other ones as well. So thank you for that. And that's what we're talking about in that moment. So let's talk about the things that are brewing inside of us in that moment first. Okay. Yes, you got that right, Sophia, for sure. The things that are brewing inside of us in those moments. And there's 4 pieces to these. One is self-awareness, one is self-management, the other is social awareness, and finally, relationship management. The first 3 are things that are going on inside of us. Self-awareness, self-management, and I'll address each of them individually, briefly. Social awareness, and then what comes out of us is relationship management. Okay. So self-awareness. Let me talk briefly about self-awareness. It is the core of everything, emotional intelligence wise. It's understanding the situation. It's understanding the situation that I am in, that I need to react to. It's understanding my moods. And sometimes I have these conversations with myself a little bit. Tom, you're not in a good place. This is all inside now. You're not in a good place. You need to pour a little cold water on this. Okay? And again, this is still inside of me. Self-awareness, understanding my moods and emotions, understanding, how about this? My motives. There might be a situation where I might have a little greed step in. Is this all about me? What can I get out of this? Am I being selfish? And if I do catch myself with that, reeling that in, okay? And then being aware of my nonverbal behavior, my nonverbal cues. What are some examples of nonverbal cues that I need to be aware of as I am processing this in a split second inside of me? Fidgeting, absolutely, Allie, thank you for that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, ECE, crossed arms, facial expressions. I love it. Thank you, David. Sometimes I'll get from my wife, and by the way, one of the great ways on facial expressions is to ask for feedback. Sometimes I'll get from my wife, my lovely wife, what's that look on your face? And I go, what look? And I just need to be aware of it. Okay. I need to be aware.
I do agree with that, Tom. I know my team, who several of them are on here, they will tell you, I definitely am one that you can tell by my face. And I try really hard, but it's just always been, I've always been one that just wears my emotions on my sleeves.
Yeah.
And at times I can cover it, but most of the time, if you can look at my eyes and my face and know that I'm having a good day, a bad day, I might still have a smile on my face, but they always can still seem to tell that something might just not be right.
Yeah, and our body language can affect the outcome of that situation. It can. Yeah, heart on your sleeve. Yeah, Allie. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is self-awareness. This is looking inside and seeing what is brewing inside. Are you making eye contact? Are you smiling? And there are situations where it's okay to smile, and I understand that there's situations that it's not okay to smile. I get that. Am I leaning in? Am I paying attention? All these things. And again, going back, am I being selfish here? Is my motive wrong? Understanding the situation, what's going on inside of me. So that is self-awareness. Yeah, great point, Sophia. I love that. I love that. So self-awareness, the second piece, still inside of us. So now that I know what's going on, is called self-management. Inside of me, what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with what is going on? Okay. And it's controlling this emotion that might be bubbling up. And again, I'll let you know when it finally, whatever it is, finally comes out of us. This is all still going on inside of us. And like I said, this is like split-second reaction. And we're going to talk in a little while about some things I can do now to prepare for those moments, okay? But self-management, now that I know what's going on, am I going to take a positive spin on whatever it is? Am I going to keep my emotions and reactions low? And David, yeah, David's heard this from me before. Thank you for that. Personal as well as professional. And by the way, on a side note, this is a freebie, but on a side note, I have never seen a leadership topic for business that could not be applied in our lives away from work.
Absolutely.
And by the way, those two pieces of our life are connected, whether we like it or not. They just are. They just really are. So self-management, keeping my reactions low, thinking before acting. Here's something in under self-management, awareness of what pushes our buttons. This is what Jessica said earlier. So what are some things that push your buttons that kind of get the water bubbling a little bit in a way that it probably should not bubble? What are some things that push your buttons?
Well, I know that there's things that push my buttons, but one, as you're talking about self-awareness, something that I did personally or that I've chosen to do is when I want to do that quick reaction. So if I want to answer an email or send a text, it's so easy to spout out the wrong thing when you're upset or frustrated with something. So I made a promise to myself that if I feel that in me kind of bubbling, that I don't send a response. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll type the response out like on a note, separate. And then I just wait and I tell myself, I'm not allowed to send that until, for 2 days. So just to give an example. And then in 2 days, I can tell you, I normally look at that and go, I would never send that. Why? I'm not going to send that. So
Right.
it kind of just gives me a chance to say, okay, let's write it out, because that emotionally makes me feel better. That's the selfish side of me. But I'm not going to send it because number one, it's probably going to come back and hurt me anyway. But number two is once I calm down and relax, then I realize I really don't want to send that at all. And I can send a better response.
Absolutely. And this stuff just happens inside of us, and we have to react on the spot to it. So I love great answers in the chat. And I hope everyone is paying attention to the chat as well. So I love that. Let's move on to social awareness. So now we know what's going on inside of us. Now, hopefully we know the right way to handle it, the right path to go down. But still, here's an observation from the outside: social awareness. And the best way to describe this is reading the room.
Yep.
Who are we talking to? And because who I'm talking to, I can tell this group or react a certain way with this group that's totally not appropriate for that group, or not effective. Let me not say not appropriate. That sounds like I say stuff that's not appropriate. Jessica, you were getting ready to correct me on that, but anyway, I appreciate it. So read the room. Who's in the room? There are things I should say with some groups of people that I shouldn't, and vice versa. So read the room. So after social awareness, now that we know what's inside of us, we know what's bubbling, we know who's in the room with us. Okay. Now this is what comes out of us: relationship management. It's our ability, now that we know all these things, to influence, to coach, to serve, to love. Are we going to try to resolve if it is a conflict? Are we going to be a conflict resolver? Okay, let's get to the solution here. Or are we going to jump in with the complaints or not? I mean, there's so many examples. So what is it that comes out of us? Here's another one: having respect for all levels, layers. Okay. I see that comment, Sophia. Yeah, I hear you. So having respect for all levels and all layers. Here's an example. Our daughter, who's married and got 3 girls now, and don't ask me about my granddaughters unless you have an extra 20 minutes. But before she got married, she asked me this question. She said, "What kind of man should I marry?" And my first answer, I only tell the stories where I give great answers, by the way, and do the right thing. But my first answer was, pay attention to how they treat people that they don't have to treat well. And a perfect example of this is a server in a restaurant. Pay attention to how they how they treat someone they do not have to treat well. Because that, again, with a high emotional intelligence, now we know what's going on inside of us. When it comes out of us, what do we say? Particularly for people we don't have to treat well. All right, and let me throw this out at you too. The more authority you have, professionally or personally, in a situation, the less critical this is to do. If I have ultimate authority, I can say whatever I want. I can just say, get back to work. I don't want to hear what you're talking about. I can say, go to your room, go to bed without, I can say that. So be very careful in those situations where you have a lot of authority. And I know I'm talking to a lot of leaders, both at work and away from work. So be careful in most situations, is what I would say. So relationship management. So
Tom, I just wanted to just kind of make a comment because I think you bring up a good point. So like you mentioned how they treat people that they don't have to treat well. I always kind of say, I pay attention to who you're surrounded by.
Yeah.
So I know myself as a leader, I'm surrounded by a pretty amazing team and we built a great culture.
Yeah.
So I just think that's, equally important, who you surround yourself with. You'll get those better reactions.
For sure. And being intentional about who you surround yourself with.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely, David. So yeah, being intentional with that. All right. So now this is what happens, and this is what's going on, okay, with in the moment. So let's step back from the moment for a second. If we want to raise our emotional intelligence, what are some things we can avoid? What are some things we can run towards? And what are some things we need to remember? First of all, avoid drama. Avoid drama. Just avoid it. It's, because if I get wrapped up in drama, I get all wound up a little bit. And maybe my next interaction is not going to be as good as it could have possibly been. Avoid complaining. So if you have an opportunity to complain, and by the way, unfortunately, I complain more than I should. But when it's time for me when I think I want to complain, I have two choices. I can go the complaint route, or I can try to go the problem-solving route of whatever it is that I'm complaining about. Now, I may have authority to do that, I may not. But I can be solution-oriented or complaint-oriented. So do remember that. Try to avoid past mistakes. And I know that's easier said than done. I call it, and you've heard it before, rear view mirror in the windshield.
Right.
We learn from the rear view mirror, but we try not to dwell on it. Because if we stay focused in the rear view mirror when we're driving, we run into the ditch. Learn from it. Don't dwell on it, and just get back to the windshield. Just get back to the windshield, okay? And then
I loved, Allie put a comment in here. I love it. Says, misery loves company, but so does joy. And I
100%.
think, what you're saying is, you can go, I've heard the saying, like, you want to be the one that, sets the temperature or changes the temperature in a room. So I think that's very true. You can go into a room of a lot of people complaining and you can either jump in and start complaining or, change the temperature and add that joy.
For sure. And one of the classes we do, I tell the leaders, you have some degree of control of the weather wherever you are.
Sure.
Wherever you are. And again, I'm not saying our challenges, I'm not downplaying our challenges, because we all do have challenges. And we have to take action. We have to do things. But there's many different ways to do things. Are we going to bring the sunshine, or at least fair weather? Or are we going to bring the cloudy, dreary, I love that. I love that. Next one, last one, under avoid, criticizing others.
Mm,
Avoid criticizing others. If you have a difficult situation that you need to address, and by the way, if you do, address it, by the way, because difficult situations, Colin Powell said this, difficult situations are not like wine. They don't get better with age. They get worse. Do not avoid it. Do not avoid it. But if you have a difficult situation with someone, focus on the issue, not the person.
Sure.
I would much rather somebody tell me, Tom, what you said was rude, versus Tom, you're rude.
Right.
One was the issue, one was the person. Okay. So avoid attacking individuals, address the issues, not the people. Okay. All right.
Tom, it looks like Edward made, maybe posed a question here. It says excessive complaining can strain relationships as others may feel burdened or annoyed by constant negativity. It can also create a barrier to open communication and mutual support. Agree, question mark. So yes, I mean, Edward, I would agree, because I think I feel like personally, if I was a constant negative complaining leader, my team would really have a hard time coming to me
Oh, for sure.
to, address issues, or honestly, I think that they'd start hiding things from me and only want to bring me the good, positive things. Whereas I want my team to feel comfortable and confident coming to me in any situation. So I would agree with that. If I'm constantly complaining or straining my relationships with, and again, like Tom said, that goes in personal relationships as well. My friends and family are not necessarily going to come to Jessica, the complaining family member.
I could not agree more, because that is as contagious as is bringing the sunshine. And again, complaining, are we going to go the complaining route, or are we going to go the solution route? And we may not have a solution. Little side note, another freebie, be the leader, and it doesn't have to be the leader on the org chart. Be the leader that uses this term often. We got this. Now let's figure out how to get this. Let's figure out how to do it. Okay. But yeah, I could not agree more with that was made. That was awesome. All right. Run towards these things. And I want to respect your time. Run towards these things. Start your day off right. Start your day. I have a certain way that I set my feet every morning. I have certain things that I do. You don't have to do what I do, but I have certain things that I do to set my feet off right. I get up at 4:10, incredibly early. I go to the gym. I have some personal devotional time, and then I eat a big, huge breakfast. And I find that when I don't do that, I'm just a little, what do you call it? Half bubble off center, maybe. Just a little bit. And I call it setting my feet. And it's kind of a basketball analogy. When you teach somebody to shoot, the first thing you teach them to do is set their feet. That's the way you teach somebody to shoot. So that's what I call it in the morning. Do I set my feet properly? And when I do, I am more likely to have a higher emotional intelligence the day that I set my feet. Understand both sides. Have empathy for the other sides. Accept responsibility and apologize. Be that person that apologizes. And when we apologize, do two things. Apologize, and then tell that person what you've learned. That takes the apology to the next level. Okay, you're sorry, I get it, but you tell me what you learned. That tells me that you're going to really, really change something that you did or are doing. You might have a tendency to do, and you're going to do something different next time. Okay. Here's another one. Practice gratitude. And by the way, that's a verb. That's something we do. If we practice gratitude, whether it's a journal, whether it's a daily sticky note, whether it's just telling people thank you, And by the way, paying compliments to people is a form of gratitude. It is. And little side note on compliments, one reason we as leaders don't compliment as much as we should is because it doesn't solve our problems in the moment. Think about that. So my question to you is what do you need to do to practice gratitude or up your game there? And who do you need to pay an unsolicited compliment to? You would be amazed at what that does for you and your emotional intelligence and your reactions. Here's another one. Breathe, call a timeout. It is okay to pause. In that moment, it's okay to pause. It's not a sign of weakness. Call a timeout. Ask for feedback. Be a person who asks for feedback. Every now and then I'll go to my wife and I'll ask her, tell me what I can do to be a better husband. And I do that without any hope that I'll get a turn. What can I do to be a better husband? And she will say, well, how much time do you have? No, she does not say that. I promise. I promise. But be that person. It's a vulnerable place to be. And all these things in our life, when we're doing these things, it helps us in those moments, those unrelated moments. But when we get into those moments, it helps us react and respond better in more of a serving and loving way. Ask for help, take care of yourself, and remember these things. Remember these things, because I do want to come to your takeaways in just a second, okay? In 4 minutes, I want to come to takeaways, and let's have a great discussion about that. First of all, emotional intelligence starts right here with our hearts. We can't fake this. So how are we responding to the situation internally? And it starts with our heart. And here's a question for you. Be very aware of what you're feeding your heart. Be aware of things that you watch, things that you listen to, things that you expose yourself to. Be very aware of how that affects you. Case in point, I love action movies and all the, Jack Reacher, Jack Ryan series, things like that. But there's a whole lot of shoot 'em up things going on in these things. And honestly, some days it's probably not good for me to watch those things because that's what I'm feeding my heart.
Right.
So what
Tom, we're actually in the middle of a self-care series.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I talk about when I talk about self-care is, filling your own cup, because like you
Yes.
said, it starts with us,
Yes.
and then what you're pouring out into others. So once your cup is full, that's actually what is going into others. So you're hitting the nail on the head. Exactly. Whatever I'm putting into my heart is
Yeah.
what I'm giving out.
Yeah.
So I love that you make
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah, what we feed our heart makes a U-turn. It comes right out of us. It just totally does. So that's one thing. Remember, you're not going to be perfect with this. You're just not. Give yourself some grace. Pay attention to yourself is what we talked about. Here's one. Be a great listener. I have found myself historically sometimes not listening with both sides of my brain. And one side of my brain, I'm formulating my response while I'm trying to listen with my other. If y'all, I'm talking to a bunch of educators here. An anagram is two words with the same letters, but it's the different word. An anagram to listen is the word silent. And I didn't make this up. I read this. I wish I would have been smart enough to make it up. But to be a great listener, everything has to go silent. Everything in our minds, everything in this side of my brain has to go back there. The TV needs to be off, maybe. Silent anything I'm thinking about. So be a great listener, okay? And that will help you in many aspects of leadership and serving and loving. And then finally, be curious. One of our classes is called the gift of curiosity. And when we're curious with people, we're honoring who they are. Like, how was your weekend, Jessica? I'm honoring Jessica's weekend because I want to know. And being curious starts with our hearts too. So what we've talked about is everything inside of us in that moment: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship management. And that's in that moment. And then we've talked about, here's some things you can do to add total positivity to those 4 things. And you're not going to be perfect. And my hope for all of you is to get that much better every week. Just that much better every week. And don't try to overthink it or try to be perfect, just a little bit better. So what is going to change? What is going to change? And Jessica, I'll ask you, is this a good time to open it up for feedback? It looks like we've got about 9 minutes, but open it up for feedback. Is this a good time to do that?
Yes, it is. And we actually have about 8 questions or so in the Q&A. So I'm hoping we can at least maybe get to a few of those as well
Please.
before we
Yeah.
jump off here.
Yeah.
So let's see. Nancy posted in the Q&A, what are some key traits or characteristics that differentiate a leader from a manager in the ECE field? So I'm just going to touch on this a little bit, Tom. I'll let you, let that sink in. But I know personally for myself, I say that we actually, we do a course on how to not, to take you from just being a manager to a leader. And I'm going to use an experience. I owned an indoor soccer facility, and I have this problem where I used to have a problem where I thought I had to do everything, and I felt bad. It wasn't that I thought I could do it better than everybody. I felt bad delegating and giving people things to do at times. So I was managing everything and managing everybody. And a good friend of mine actually said, it's okay to find. And so I turned it around, and I actually had a manager who I started delegating. Then I had a director of my kids' programs that I said, hey, I'm just a little overwhelmed. Can you take this piece of it? And my business thrived and prospered because I was able to, first of all, I had to identify with myself that, oh my gosh, I'm trying to manage everything and everybody. And then I became a leader. Let me give this to you, help you, support you, but let that be your thing. And when I did that, it just made leaps and bounds difference for me as a business owner.
I love that. And I'll add to that. And that is a fantastic question. I really will. I'll just say 2 words to me: manager, leader. And we've got to take care of business, right? We've got to, but reactive versus proactive.
Right.
Manager, and we've got to be reactive, but a leader goes the next step. How can I make my team better? How can I make them more successful? And you're looking ahead into the future, which, by the way, is hard to do because typically as leaders in ECE, during your busy day, you got to take care of these things that kind of are right in front of you. But we've also have to use some of that time, if we have it, to, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to grow? How are we going to, get better? So that's what I would add to that. That's a fantastic question.
It is, absolutely. Thank you, Nancy, for that. Also, Morris put, and that this I think kind of goes along with it. It says, can you share specific examples of how effective leadership has transformed childcare and daycare organizations? So I also think if anybody on the webinar has some specific examples. I know I've been, on the summer camp side of things, but I haven't personally owned my own daycare organization. So if anybody has some, specific examples of how, leadership, I know in my own experience, I feel like if you have a strong leader, it's like we've been saying, right? That strong leader is going to pour into others, and that's going to transform your business. Tom, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll add just a little bit to that. An effective leader also invests in their team, into training them, making feel better. An effective leader is complimentary. An effective leader is, lays out a vision or ask, hey, where do you want to go? Where do you want to go in this company? And how can I help you get there? And remember, I go back to the reactive versus the proactive.
Right.
So, and an effective leader cares more about who they're leading than they care about themselves. And how can I make everyone around me better? How can I make everyone around? So I would add that to it. That's another great question.
That is, and I'm just looking at some of the chat. That's great, Jeanette. Sophia said, how can you tell a leader she's not leading right without hurting their feelings?
Yep.
So, Sophia, that's a great question. So how can you tell a leader she's not leading right without hurting their feelings?
You want me to tell you that?
Yeah, Tom, I think you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. That's
Yeah,
what I was thinking of.
be as specific as you can. Address the behaviors and not the individual. And not the individual. And I've had conversations before with people I've led, and I tell them, first of all, we need to talk about some things that need to change. Secondly, we're doing this because I want you to be really successful here. And some encouragement. I want you to be really successful because, by the way, if you don't, you're having another conversation, right? You're having another completely different conversation if you don't feel like it can get better. But be really specific. Here's what I observed. Now let's talk about it. Now, how can I support you in this changing? And again, there are things as a leader you can and can't do, and you have a certain amount of time. I get all that, but be really specific with the behavior and never ever tell somebody they've just got a bad attitude. That's just not fair. Tell them what you've observed specifically that has caused you to think they have a bad attitude. So it's all about being specific. I could talk for days on that, but I'll just get to that point.
No, I know, Tom. Allie did say coaching and leading by example. Absolutely, Allie. Let's see. I think we can maybe do another question. I tell you, there is a lot, and I feel like Tom, I feel like you and I could do this for 2 hours. Unfortunately, due to time, let's see if we can jump on some other ones here. Jasmine had some great questions in the Q&A. How can ECE leaders foster a culture of continuous learning and professional development among their staff?
Okay, yeah. First of all, being proactive and looking at those opportunities, and what are those opportunities that fit most well with the schedule, with the availability, but vision, and not only saying what we're doing and what we're going to do, but here's why we're doing it. Here's why we're doing it. We're doing this, whatever this is, so you can be most successful here at this company, because that's, as leaders, that's our primary responsibility as leaders, for you to be as successful as you possibly can. That's another great question, one we could talk about for days, and I'm only giving you, I'm fighting from going, further, but that's one thought on that.
Yes, no, that's great. Oh my goodness, there's so many questions in here. Let's see here. Can you share some key trends or developments in the EC industry that are shaping the future of leadership in this field?
That's a really good one. I need to think about that. I need to think about that just for a minute.
Sure. So share some key trends or developments in the ECE industry that are shaping the future of leadership in this field? So
Yeah.
I do think some of the I think my first thought is leaders investing in their staff. Like you said, Tom, I feel like we're seeing more of that. You know, I was talking about the CDAs, but I know we have a couple of programs that we do for our child care centers to just really empower the staff and kind of put professional development on them, but empower them to do it as well with incentives and things. So I think, like, you know, one of the things is key is investing in your staff.
Investing in your staff, and I was going to mention staffing is a challenge. Just managing the books is a challenge. And I would say as a leader with all of these things, just being transparent and not running away from your challenges. And I'm not saying open up your checkbook and let everybody that reports to you see the balance in your account. I'm just saying being really transparent with what your challenges are, what your opportunities are, focusing on what you're great at, and really, really hit that. And also don't run away from where you're not so good, particularly not so good versus the competition. Ask that question, where do they have us beat? And boy, there's an opportunity there to, okay, so now how do we do it? Now let's go into problem solving mode. Let's go and be competitive with it. And I wish we had time to delve into, I wish we had time to delve into all these great questions. But that's a little short snippet of that question. So thank you for that question. This is an awesome question.
I think we'll do one more, and then maybe we'll do some of those takeaways,
Okay.
because I know we're running a little short on time. But Morris said, can you share any success stories where prioritizing team growth and development led to significant improvements in organizational outcomes? So can you share any success stories where prioritizing team growth and development led to significant improvements in organizational outcomes? So I occasionally do, this is just what I thought of, and this is because I think it is about developing the team. And
Yes.
one of the things, and this is just a silly thing that I do, but occasionally I do fun Fridays with my team.
Yeah.
So we're virtual, and we get on and I'll play some sort of game virtually with my entire team, and then they get a little prize. But to me, it's like team building, and I
Yes.
feel like it just takes us out of that where we're constantly, trying to solve problems, or it just takes us out of that moment. So we do fun Fridays every once in a while, and it really builds our team, our culture.
Yeah. And Jessica, I love the word you used, team, several times. And encourage people to be a great teammate. Being a great teammate. And a great teammate is one who wants to make everybody better. It doesn't matter where they are on the org chart. And a great teammate is one that goes, how can I help? Ask that question. But in order for your team, you as leaders, for your team to be asking that question, you need to ask that question first. And again, you got to get your job done. You can't do somebody else's job for them. But I'm gonna tell you, great culture doesn't flow from the top. Now, while everybody's shocked that I said that, great culture oozes from the top. A spoonful at a time. A spoonful at a time. And it's all those little spoonfuls as a leader, because I'm going to tell you, you can destroy a great culture a truckload at a time.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of spoonfuls that have to fill up a truck. So just be patient with it, be positive, be a great leader, and just remember each moment is an opportunity, and each moment is a moment that we're setting an expectation for the next time, for the next moment. We start that meeting late, everybody automatically says, well, I have to be there on time. Just things like that. Just again, it's so many things. So yeah, another great question.
I love David said in the chat, when we capitalize when we win. And I know we do that with our culture is we have we call it ringing the bell. So
Yeah.
when we have a success, we get on the win channel and
Love
we
it.
celebrate a success, you know, big or small, and we celebrate it as a team. So I love that comment from David there. When we win, we win. And that's true. So
And it's we. Yeah, I love the word we, and I love that it was capitalized. So yeah.
oh my goodness, there's so many great things in here. So Tom, did you want anybody else have some takeaways that they just want to pop in there?
What's one thing, right quick, and Jessica, you stop us when it's time to stop. What is one thing you're going to do differently? Anybody from today?
Oh, I always love that question. That's a
Yeah, because that's where the magic happens, is when we start doing things differently. And again, this is all about our emotional intelligence. I'm going to assume since there's, oh, well, here we go. What can I do to be better? Oh, absolutely. Oh, I love that. Asking your team, what can I do to be a better leader? Being more mindful of starting my day off right. Absolutely. And Allie, however that looks to you, you have to do what I do, however that looks to you. I love it. I love it. I love it.
well, this is excellent. Thank you to everybody in the chat. And Tom, like I said, I wish we had another hour. Unfortunately, we do not. But you just gave us some fantastic information. We had a phenomenal response in the Q&As, and I wish I could have gotten to all the questions. I think there was 13 or 14 in there, and all the chats. But Tom, you've been great. We're so thankful that you were able to jump on here with us, and we appreciate your time today.
Jessica, I'm honored. Thanks to Inspire Care for being such a great advocate for the industry. I really appreciate that. And I guess I'll leave by saying, all right, all right, all right. How about that?
Perfect way. So no, thank you so much, Tom. And we look forward to seeing you here soon.
All the best. Thank you.
And to everybody that joined us today, we will have a replay of this webinar, as well as make sure if you didn't click the link to get your certificate, make sure you do that now before this ends. You can copy it, paste it in your link, and it'll take you where you can claim that certificate. We did have a giveaway. Somebody mentioned this, asked about it. You did register when you registered for the giveaway. Sarah will be announcing that. We'll give you about 48 hours to claim it. If the winner doesn't claim the $250 gift card, then we'll look to a backup person. But a huge thank you to Discount School Supplies for providing us with that gift card today that we were able to give out. So make sure you look for that as the winner to that. We are running a little bit out of time. One thing that I mentioned, we have a self-care series that we have been doing the last weeks. If you follow us on social media, I've been talking about, personal self-care, physical self-care, professional self-care, and we have a couple more weeks of that. In addition to that, we have an ebook here that you can download that is a self-care ebook. And then here's just, let's see, I think Sarah put that link to download. So if you want to download it's a free copy of the ebook, and it talks about types of self-care and how the benefits of self-care. Because like we said, it's what you have to pour into yourself to pour into others. And then, yes, follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn. We've been doing a self-care series. And then, of course, we'll be posting future webinars, future ebooks. So please check us out on there. If you have any questions after this, let me see here. Oh, our next webinar, I want to make sure I get this in there, is April 9th. So this is with Radha. This will be a great webinar, so please mark your calendars. I think Sarah's putting the link in the chat for that, so you can register for our next webinar. That's Navigating the Future of Childcare, Insights for Childcare Business Owners. So Radha will have a wealth of knowledge there during that webinar. And then, of course, if you want to learn more about Inspire Care 360, please email administrator. That actually comes directly to me, so I'll be happy to answer any questions. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram there. And again, if you don't receive your certificate for some reason, feel free to reach out. There's our 1-800 number as well. And sorry to be rushing here towards the end, but Tom was just a great guest. We were happy to have him. And thank you to everybody who participated in the chat, all the questions and answers. And we look forward to seeing you on future webinars. So everybody have a wonderful weekend, a great rest of the week. And thanks again for joining us.